Members of the Swedish royal family attend the 2022 Nobel Prize award ceremony. The princely twins of Monaco celebrate their 8th birthday. And Grand Duchess Maria Teresa of Luxembourg finds herself in hot water yet again. All this and much more coming up next on your Royal Daily News. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Alexandra, and this is your Royal Daily News for December 10th, 2022. In Oslo, their Majesties King Harald V and Queen Sonja of Norway, accompanied by their Royal Highnesses Crown Prince Haakon and Crown Princess Mette-Marit of Norway, attended the 2022 Nobel Peace Prize ceremony held at the Oslo City Hall. This year, the Norwegian Nobel Committee decided to award the 2022 Nobel Peace Prize to one individual and two organizations. The Peace Prize laureates represent civil society in their home countries, and they have for many years promoted the right to criticize power and protect the fundamental rights of citizens. They have made an outstanding effort to document war crimes, human rights abuses, and the abuse of power. Together, they demonstrate the significance of civil society for peace and democracy. This year, the Peace Prize is awarded to human rights advocate Mr. Ales Bialyatsky from Belarus, the Russian human rights organization Memorial, and the Ukrainian human rights organization Center for Civil Liberties. Mr. Ales Bialyatsky was one of the initiators of the democracy movement that emerged in Belarus in the mid-1980s. He has devoted his life to promoting democracy and peaceful development in his home country. The human rights organization Memorial was established in 1987 by human rights activists in the former Soviet Union who wanted to ensure that the victims of the communist regime's oppression would never be forgotten. The Center for Civil Liberties was founded in Kiev in 2007 for the purpose of advancing human rights and democracy in Ukraine. The center has taken a stand to strengthen Ukrainian civil society and pressure the authorities to make Ukraine a full-fledged democracy. To develop Ukraine into a state governed rule by law, the Center for Civil Liberties has actively advocated that Ukraine become affiliated with the International Criminal Court. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, the Center for Civil Liberties has engaged in efforts to identify and document Russian war crimes against the Ukrainian civilian population. By awarding the 2022 Nobel Peace Prize to Mr. Ales Bialyatsky, Memorial, and the Center for Civil Liberties, the Norwegian Nobel Committee honored three outstanding champions of human rights, democracy, and peaceful coexistence in the neighbor countries of Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine. Through their consistent efforts in favor of humanist values, anti-militarism, and principles of law, this year's laureates have revitalized and honored Alfred Nobel's vision of peace and fraternity between nations, a vision most needed in the world today. In the evening, members of the Norwegian royal family attended a gala dinner in honor of the 2022 Nobel Peace Prize laureates held at the Grand Hotel in Oslo. In Stockholm, their Majesties King Carl Gustaf and Queen Silvia of Sweden, accompanied by their Royal Highnesses Crown Princess Victoria and Prince Daniel of Sweden, their Royal Highnesses Prince Carl Philippe and Princess Sophia of Sweden, Princess Christina Mrs. Magnusson, and her husband, Mr. Tord Magnusson, attended the 2022 Nobel Prize Award ceremony held at the Stockholm Concert Hall. According to a press release, the Nobel Foundation is a private institution established in 1900 based on the will of Alfred Nobel. The main task is to manage the assets made available through the will and the intellectual property related to the Nobel Prize that has developed over the years. Quote, on November 27, 1895, Alfred Nobel signed his last will and testament, giving the largest share of his fortune to a series of prizes in physics, chemistry, physiology, or medicine, literature, and peace, the Nobel Prizes. In 1968, Sweden's central bank established the Sweden's Central Bank Prize in Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel. End quote. The winners of the Nobel Prize in Physics went to Mr. Alain Aspect, Mr. John F. Clauser, and Mr. Anton Zeilinger. The winners of the Nobel Prize in Chemistry went to Miss Carolyn R. Bertozzi, Mr. Morton Mendel, and Mr. Barry Sharpless. The Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine went to Mr. Svante Pabo. The Nobel Prize in Literature went to Miss Annie Ernaux. The winners of the Sweden Central Bank Prize in Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel went to Mr. Ben Bernanke and Mr. Philippe Digvig. After the awards ceremony, members of the royal family and the 2022 Nobel Prize laureates, members from the Nobel Prize Foundation, and 1,000 guests attended a gala dinner in honors of the winners of the 2022 Nobel Prize held at the Stockholm City Hall. Guests sat around 60 tables, with the placement of chairs and tables having been measured with meticulous precision. This year's banquet chef is Mr. Jimmy Eriksson, and this year's pastry chef is Miss Annie Hesselstad. In the kitchen, 40 chefs prepared the delicious banquet meal for 4 days. There will also be 190 servers, including 45 serving beverages. The tableware used at the banquet consists of some 21,600 pieces, of which 5,400 glasses and 8,188 porcelain items and 8,100 items of cutlery. And another fun fact, it took 40 people to set all the tables. I thought you guys would be fascinated by that, so that's why I mentioned it. At the Musée Oceanographique de Monaco in Monacoville this morning, their Serene Highnesses Prince Albert II and Princess Charlene of Monaco, accompanied by their 2 children, His Serene Highness Hereditary Prince Jacques of Monaco and Her Serene Highness Princess Gabriella of Monaco, participated in the transferring of 46 young sulcata tortoises, also known as the African spurred tortoise, into crates. The endangered tortoises are currently on their way to the Noflaya Turtle Village and Nature Reserve in Senegal. In the afternoon, His Serene Highness Hereditary Prince Jacques of Monaco and Her Serene Highness Princess Gabriella of Monaco celebrated their 8th birthday at the Palais Princière in Monacoville. The princely twins were born at the Princess Grace Hospital Center in Monte Carlo. Princess Gabriella was the first to be born. 2 minutes later, Hereditary Prince Jacques was born. On May 10, 2015, the princely twins were baptized at the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception, also known as the Monaco Cathedral, by former Archbishop of Monaco, Bernard Barcy. In her social media post this afternoon, Princess Charlene said, quote, "Happy birthday, my loves," end quote. Happy birthday, you two. I hope you have a wonderful day. Last evening in Monte Carlo, Her Serene Highness Princess Charlene of Monaco, accompanied by her brother and Secretary General of the Princess Charlene of Monaco Foundation, Mr. Gareth Woodstock, attended the annual Bal de Noël, held inside the Salle Belle Époque at the Hotel Hermitage. The theme of this year's gala was Italia Chic. During the gala ball, an auction was held, organized by Sotheby's, which raised funds for the Princess Charlene of Monaco Foundation and its project for the prevention of drowning, as well as the education of children through the values of sport. In Luxembourg City, His Royal Highness Grand-Duc Henri of Luxembourg held an audience with the Prime Minister of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Mr. Pham Minh Chinh. During their meeting, discussions focused on the development of bilateral and European relations. Well, trouble seems to be brewing yet again inside the Palais Grand-Ducal walls in Luxembourg. According to the Luxembourg newspaper De Letzeburger Land, an official complaint has been filed against Her Royal Highness Grand Duchess Maria Teresa of Luxembourg to the Maison du Grand-Duc. According to the complaint, Grand Duchess Maria Teresa and one of her employees had, allegedly, a verbal altercation. As a result of the complaint, a case has been opened by the Secretary General of the Government Council, Mr. Jacques Flies, and a government representative from the Coordination Committee of the Maison du Grand-Duc, according to the broadcasting company RTL Luxembourg. The employee who had the verbal altercation with the Grand Duchess has been, quote, transferred to another position for her own protection, end quote. The Letzenburger Land also confirmed that another employee had requested a transfer, which was, quote, granted, but there is no further information concerning this incident, end quote. This isn't the first time Grand Duchess Maria Teresa has had issues with Palais Grand-Ducal employees. In July 2019, an internal investigation of the Corps Grand-Ducal and the Grand Duchess began. Several employees accused the Grand Duchess of bullying her staff. On Friday, January 31st, 2020, the infamous 44-page Waringo report was published. According to the Luxembourg magazine Delano, the report revealed, quote, a climate of anxiety and fear among employees of the Corps Grand-Ducal, and that there were serious shortcomings in the institution's financial reporting, end quote. The Luxembourg newspaper, The Chronicle, noted that in the report it found, quote, out of a total workforce of 110 employees, 51 individuals left their posts with the Corps Grand-Ducal either through resignation or dismissal between the years of 2014 and 2019. This excludes the former employees who left due to retirement. To prevent more staff from leaving their jobs, Mr. Jeannot Waringo proposed a better work atmosphere and improved internal communications. He added that the most important decisions concerning the personnel management were found to be taken by Her Royal Highness the Grand Duchess. On this point, among others, he highlighted the need to reform the functioning of Luxembourg's monarchy, end quote. So, to sum up, the Waringo report concluded that the atmosphere inside the Palais walls was an incredibly toxic, abusive, and stressful work environment. Naturally, Grand-Duc Henri came to the defense of his wife, stating that he was proud of her and her unending fervor in fighting for the causes she supports, and praised her intelligence and energy that she brings to all of her engagements. So, when did this verbal altercation happen? Well, nobody really knows. However, I'm going to assume that it happened prior to Tuesday, November 29th, 2022. Why do I believe this? Well, the Grand Duchess was scheduled to attend the Prevention of Sexual Violence in Conflicts conference in London on November 28th through the 29th. However, days before, the Corps Grand-Ducal released a statement stating that she was canceling her attendance, and her reason was, quote, unforeseen family reasons, end quote. In happier news, on Thursday evening in Brussels, Their Majesties King Philippe and Queen Mathilde of the Belgians hosted a dinner at Chateau de Laeken for 28 young Belgian mayors. According to the Belgian royal court, the dinner was a, quote, perfect opportunity to discuss future plans for their municipalities or cities. On Friday in Tokyo, Her Imperial Majesty Empress Masako of Japan celebrated her 59th birthday, and on the occasion of her special day, the Imperial Household Agency released a new video as well as photos. The video and images were taken inside the Imperial Palace on December 5th. The Empress also released a statement in which she reflected on her life as a member of the Imperial family for the past 29 and a half years, noting that she was, quote, deeply moved, end quote. The beloved Empress went on to say that she has, quote, gone through many times of joy as well as times of sorrow. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Emperor and many others who have supported and watched over me every step of the way, end quote. In December 2003, the IHA announced that the then Crown Princess Masako had been, quote, struggling with adjustment disorder, end quote. The Empress also thanked her husband, Emperor Norihito, as well as Emperor Emeritus Akihito and Empress Emerita Mashiko of Japan for their guidance and immense support. On Friday in Stockholm, Their Royal Highnesses Crown Princess Victoria and Prince Daniel of Sweden met with several of this year's Nobel Prize laureates at the Kungliga Slottet. During their visit to the Slottet, the Nobel laureates and the Crown Princess couple viewed the temporary artwork installation entitled Gaia by contemporary artist Mr. Luc Geram. Meanwhile, in Copenhagen, Her Majesty Queen Margrethe II of Denmark received letters of credence from newly appointed ambassadors to Denmark at Amalienborg Slot. The newly appointed ambassadors are from Nepal, Italy, Greece, Japan, and Mexico. On Thursday evening, Their Majesties King Carl Gustaf and Queen Silvia of Sweden attended the 2022 Nobel concert held at the Stockholm Concert Hall. This year, well-known German soprano Miss Diana Damarau performed in tribute to the 2022 Nobel Prize laureates, as Austrian conductor Mr. Manfred Honeck led the Royal Stockholm Philharmonic Orchestra. On Friday, His Majesty King Abdullah II of Jordan, accompanied by a Jordanian delegation, arrived in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to attend the Riyadh Arab-China Summit for Cooperation and Development at the invitation of the custodian of the two holy mosques, His Majesty King Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud of Saudi Arabia, held at the King Abdul Aziz Convention Center. Also attending the summit was His Royal Highness Crown Prince Salman bin Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa of Bahrain, His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, the Emir of Qatar, and His Highness Saeed Fahad bin Mahmoud Al Saeed of Oman. Thereafter, Crown Prince Salman bin Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa of Bahrain, along with His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa of Bahrain and a bunch of other people, attended the 43rd session of the Supreme Council of the Gulf Cooperation Council, also known as the GCC. And finally, names I can pronounce. Her Royal Highness Princess Tatiana of Greece, along with her mother, Marie Blanche, attended the opening of the Delcourt London flagship store in London. And there you have it. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will be back on Monday, December 12th with all the latest royal news. Until then, I wish you all a wonderful Saturday evening and a great Sunday tomorrow. And don't forget to like, share, and, well, subscribe. Okay, take care, everyone. I will see you all on Monday. Bye-bye.